Ismael El Mayo Zambada made his second appearance in a U.S. federal court in El Paso this afternoon. Zambada was arrested along with Joaquin Guzman Lopez in Santa Teresa last week. ABC 7's Heriberto Perez joins us live from the U.S. District Court in downtown El Paso. And Eddie, you were inside the courtroom earlier today. Tell us what happened during the hearing.
Good afternoon, Stephanie. What I can tell you is that today's status conference lasted less than 10 minutes, where Ismael El Mayo Zambada only spoke one word, answering a question from U.S. District Judge Kathleen Cardone. And Stephanie, U.S. federal authorities didn't allow us to go inside of the courtroom with any cell phones or cameras. That's why I want to show you these sketches of El Mayo's second court appearance from this afternoon. El Mayo Zambada showed up once again in a wheelchair. He seemed sick, and he only spoke one word, as I said, sí or yes. He was wearing a blue hoodie which appeared to have written Socorro over a soccer ball. It looked like he was wearing a jumpsuit under the hoodie. He had orange gel shoes. They looked like Crocs. El Mayo had 4 U.S. Marshals behind him inside the courtroom. Around the room there were at least a dozen of U.S. Marshal deputies as well. Today's hearing was mainly about two things, Stephanie: a possible conflict of interest and whether he will be tried along with other Sinaloa drug cartel members. The U.S. District Judge Cardone asked El Mayo if he knew his current attorney used to represent his son, El Vincentillo, in Chicago. The judge said that that was a possible conflict of interest, and El Mayo said sí or yes, that he knew that. We got the chance to speak with his lawyers after the hearing and with U.S. Attorney's Office representatives after the hearing, as I said, but they didn't want to give any comments.
Yes, right now is not the time to make a comment. We're barely getting started.
Why not?
Because we're not going to make a comment. That's all.
Can you give him a comment about his health?
No, not yet.
Ahí va. And Stephanie, Zambada agreed to waive any conflict of interest concerns. So will keep his current attorneys, both Frank Perez and Rey Velarde. His next scheduled hearing is set to be for Monday, September the 9th at 1 p.m. And now, Stephanie, for extra depth and, of course, discussion and what happened in today's hearing, I have here joining me live our ABC 7 contributor, Luis Chaparro, our Puente News collaborative and drug cartel expert. Luis, thank you very much for joining me today. Now that the second hearing for El Mayo happened this afternoon, Luis, how do you see this case moving forward? Do you think that El Mayo will stay here in El Paso?
Well, for now, he's going to have to stay here in El Paso until his next hearing. But prosecutors in all of the other states where he's facing indictments, like New York or Washington, are also requesting that his case be moved over there. Also, quoting security concerns here in El Paso, since we're really close to the border. Several federal agents told me off the record that they fear there could be sort of violence, some sort of violence related to El Mayo being here in El Paso.
Luis, we saw several people inside of the courtroom this afternoon. Can you tell me if any of them were actually family members or any relatives of El Mayo Zambada?
Yes, according to sources who spoke after the trial, there were 2 family members of El Mayo Zambada, although they didn't disclose who they were or any particular names. But what we know is that there were 2 family members of Zambada present at his hearing.
And lastly, Luis, with the recent arrests of El Mayo Zambada and the son of El Chapo Guzman, who do you think is now in charge of the Sinaloa cartel at this point?
Right now in Mexico, there is only one son of Zambada in charge of this faction called El Mayito Flaco, Ismael Zambada Siqueiros, who is currently in Mexico leading the Sinaloa cartel for this faction. 2 sons of Guzman Loera, of El Chapo, Ivan Archibaldo and Alfredo, and a brother of El Chapo, Guzman, Aureliano El Guano Guzman, are currently leading the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico.
Luis, once again, thank you very much for your insight and for joining us live today. Stephanie, for now, I'll send things back live in the studio.